Hi everybody, this is Andy from Wildflower Designs joining you today, and I am going to be teaching you how to make this super cute decorative stuffed pumpkin. Now we are going to be making the small size for this tutorial today, but I will link in the description the information for the medium and the large size pumpkins. What we need for today is two different colors, orange and brown or green if you choose, of bulky or super bulky yarn, so that's weight 5 or 6. And today we are going to be working with a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook, as well as safety scissors, a darning needle. Now the darning needle does need to be a little bit larger than the normal darning needle we work with because yarn is so thick. We will also need a stitch marker, possibly 2 stitch markers, and some polyfill stuffing or any sort of stuffing that you're able to find at your local craft store. So let's get to the pattern. Okay, so I'm going to start by showing you how to do the stem just to get it out of the way and we can put it to the side. So we'll grab our green or our brown yarn, depending on your color preference, and we will start by creating a slip knot. We'll then go ahead and attach it to our hook, and we can chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now the stem is very, very simple to make. So starting in the second chain from your hook, so not this one, but this next one here, we are just going to single crochet across the foundation chain here. So we'll have 5 stitches when we're done with this because we lose that one as the turning chain. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that is honestly as simple as it is to make the stem. So we'll just chain 1 to finish off our piece. We'll grab our scissors, leave a little bit of a tail here. Don't trim this one either because we are going to use both of these to attach it to our finished pumpkin. Once you've chained 1 and trimmed your yarn, you can just pull your hook straight out like that and tighten up. And there is your stem. So we can put it aside and we'll start with our pumpkin pattern. All right, so for the pumpkin pattern, we're gonna grab our orange yarn. There we go. And our hook, and we will start as well with a slip knot. Leave yourself a bit of a tail because you will be tying that together at the end. And we are gonna go ahead and we're working on the small size, but I will put I'll put notes on how to make the medium and large size pumpkins in the description. So for the small size, we are going to chain 16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Now we're going to work back into the second chain from the hook, so not this first one here, but this next one, we're going to place a single crochet. So we'll insert our hook, draw up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. And we are going to continue all the way down our foundation row, making single crochet. So we will end up with a stitch count of 15 when we're done this. So in each chain across, we are going to place 1 single crochet. Now this pattern is a 1 row repeat pattern, and we are working with only single crochet for the small pumpkin. You will also be working with only single crochet for the medium sized pumpkin, and you'll just increase your stitch count and your row count. And then if you want to work the large pumpkin, you will be working with double crochets. All right, so I've got a stitch count of 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So we will chain 1 and we will turn our piece. Now we are going to be making ridges, subtle little bumps all the way around. We're basically going to be making a rectangle, and then we're going to cinch up both ends and stuff it, and then we'll take another piece to give it the real definition of a pumpkin. So I've made 3 big chunky sections for my pumpkin. When you work with the medium or the large size pumpkin, you could put in more sections if you want, but for the small one, I think 3 works nicely. But again, that'll be your personal preference when we're done this pattern. So to make those ridges, when you're looking at your stitch, normally we work into both of these loops here, the front and the back loop there with the V, but we want to make a ridge. So what we're going to do is consistently work in the back loop only. So the front loop is the loop that's closest to you. The back loop is the loop that's furthest away from you. So I am going to go not underneath both, but I'm going to go just underneath that back loop there and make a single crochet. Now again, you're going to want to probably use a stitch marker, and you will need one for the other side as well. When we're done, we'll place our stitch marker in the top of that first stitch that we've made, and then we'll go ahead and we're going to continue all the way down, making single crochet in the back loop only. So we don't want to pick up both of those loops. We want to just work into the loop that's farthest away from our body. And as I work this piece, you'll notice right away the texture that this creates. You can see the ridges happening already. So there's that front loop that's sticking out because we've left it alone. And this is a very, very simple pattern. Great for beginners who want to create something other than a hat or a scarf or a blanket. So we'll work all the way down here in the back loop only. Got one more stitch here. There we go. And I will chain one and I will turn my piece. And again, I'm going to work in the back loop only. So I'll skip that turning chain and I'll work into that next stitch there in the back loop only, and you will see as I work across how the ridges really start to take form after the first row. And this honestly is the entire pattern. We are going to just continue this for a total of 20 rows. Now it will start to get a little bit harder to count your rows than it does on a normal both loop stitch, I suppose, a normal stitch where you go under both loops, because the pattern is going to start to zigzag. Stop. Sorry about that. The pattern is going to start to zigzag on you. There's my last stitch there that I'm working into. So basically, when you're counting your rows, if I turn my piece over, I have, and I look kind of on the side, you can sort of see how it's starting to go like this as we work our piece. One row and the second row there makes one sort of ridge. So if that helps to count your pieces, we've got 1, 2, 3. We'll have another one that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way like that. But it also helps to have a piece of paper and a pencil with you, or pen, to keep track of which row you're on. Because all we are going to be doing is doing 20 rows like this. Now I did say you will need 2 stitch markers. I'm only using one, so I'm going to move it. But I'm just going to continue the exact same way. So I'm on row 4 now. Chain 1, turn my piece. I'm going to skip that turning chain, and I'm going to work in the back loop only with single crochet all the way across. When you are finished 20 rows, I will meet you at the end and show you what we're going to do with our tail. Do not finish off your yarn. Don't trim your yarn, because we want to leave a really long tail for the next step of our piece. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish a total of 20 rows, and I'll meet you at the end when you are there as well. I'll see you in a sec. All right, so I'm here at the end of my 20 rows, and again, I'm just going to show you real quick how to count these rows, because they can be kind of tricky to count with the front loop, or sorry, the back loop only. So we have one row here, another here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So what we're going to do next is we are actually going to chain 1. We are going to fold our piece in half. Now you can do this step one of two ways. You can slip stitch the edge together, or if you prefer, you can trim your yarn, give yourself a decent amount. I would say probably at least 30 inches. And you can use a darning needle and whip stitch this together, where you just kind of sew these two pieces together. But I'm going to go ahead and show you how to slip stitch it together. So I am going to do the back loop only on this side, and on this side over here we're working with where we were working with the foundation chain, so there's really only one loop to go into. So we're just going to match up both sides and we will slip stitch them together. So we're going to draw up a loop and then pull that straight through the loop on our hook, and we're going to do that all the way down. So back loop only, grab that other side and slip stitch it together. Now this way leaves you a nice ridge, the same way we've been working for the beginning rows. But if it's a little too tricky for you to understand what's happening here, you can always just use a whip stitch and a darning needle to finish this up. And then when I get to the end here, I'll just show you what we're going to do. Just a couple more stitches here. Now there's a reason I asked you not to cut that tail. We won't be needing it much longer, but when I get to the end here, now it looks like I haven't done a very good job of lining this up. Oh, maybe I have. There we go. Yep. So we'll just continue this slip stitch into the last two stitches here, and there we go. So now I'm just gonna chain one more at the end there to secure my piece. Now because I used the slip stitch, I know that I'm not going to need too much, so I'm going to do maybe, you know, a forearm's length of yarn. I'll trim my piece and then I will pull that straight through and pull it nice and snug. So just for a little bit of security, you can tie once or twice. You can tie just once, or you can tie a knot. And then we really truly are done with this. So you can trim it, or you can just kind of tuck it into the middle of your piece, because you're not going to see it once you stuff the pumpkin. And the next step, so we made a tube basically. Now we're going to cinch up this end, we'll stuff it, and then we'll cinch up the other end, and then we'll shape our pumpkin. So we'll grab our darning needle, and remember, you want a thicker one because the yarn is thicker. So it's trickier to get a thicker yarn obviously into a smaller needle. And all we're going to do is we're going to go in and out wherever you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. Go in and out, tightening as you go. And we are going to cinch up the one end. Okay, so I've just changed my camera angle here for a second. I am going to insert my hook one last time here, and I will pull this nice and tight and cinch it up. And then just to secure it, I'm gonna kind of work my way back in and across the pumpkin somewhere. It really doesn't matter where. And I'm just gonna draw my needle back through the same piece of yarn to tighten it up. And then I'll just do that one more time. So just back through. So I'm kind of making slip stitches or slip knots into itself. And what's great about this is we actually don't have to trim this yarn. Whoops. We can just pop it right into the center of our pumpkin, because we are going to now stuff it and you won't see it anymore. So I can just put that in there. And now this is where we're going to stuff our pumpkin. So I'm going to grab some of my fiber fill. Now, if you're new to amigurumi, which is knitting or crocheting 3D objects, you always want to overstuff your pieces. So if you think that you've put enough stuffing in, try and squeeze in a little bit more, because I promise you, you don't want to sew up your piece and then find out that you kind of made a saggy or a floppy piece because you didn't put enough stuffing in. So that should be good. And then the next step is to grab another piece of yarn. I've just cut this piece. It's fairly long, maybe, I don't know, an arm's length or so. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to attach it into one of the edges, and we are going to seam up the other side. So I'm just going to leave a little bit of a tail here, and I'll tie a knot just to get it started and secured. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side of the pumpkin, weaving in and out and cinching up as I go. We're going to close up the other end the exact same way. So I'm just going to do this real quick. Okay, so again, whoops, let me tuck that tail in there. Okay, so again, I am just going to go pull this nice and tight, and I'm just going to go across and sort of slip stitch to the other side. Now this side we only really need to do this once, because what we're going to do with the extra length of this yarn is we're going to start to create the sections of the pumpkin. Now again, I only have 3 sections on the small pumpkin. If you were doing the medium or the large pumpkins, you might want to make more. But all we're going to do is we're going to take this all the way around the edge of one side of your pumpkin, and we'll put our hook straight through the center. Pull it nice and tight, however tight you'd like, and then we'll find another section to do that. I'm going to do it right here, and we're going to just force the needle right through to the top again. Takes a second to sort of find it. And then I am going to pull it snug, and I'll do it once more, I think right here. Ooh, come on through. There we go. So now I've got my nice pumpkin shape. Now to secure this, again, we're just going to find anywhere where we can sort of fit our hook through, and we will do a slip stitch or a slip knot. So you're basically just taking the yarn back through itself. Pull that nice and tight, and then I'm going to do this once more. Kind of keep my thumb there while I'm pulling, and that's what keeps it nice and tight. And then we don't need this tail anymore, but we do want to secure a little bit of it, so you can just stick it back into the center of your pumpkin and pop it out wherever you'd like. Just like that, and then we'll go ahead and trim this. Oh, I've lost my scissors. Okay, so what we're left with is our pumpkin shape. Now you can decide top or bottom which you like better. I'm going to put my stem up in the top here, and all we're going to do is take our darning needle and the stem that we created at the beginning of the video, and you can use your crochet hook to pull this through, or a darning needle if you prefer. And I'm just going to kind of find the center of my pumpkin wherever, oh my goodness, I can, wherever I can really get it through. There we go. So I'm going to go this direction. So I have the tail running through like this, and then with this one, I'm just going to go the opposite way so that I can tie it nicely. Come on, anywhere through there. Not all pumpkins are perfect. There we go. So then all I'm going to do is tie a knot, just like that. There's our cute little stem on there. And then I'm going to take my crochet hook, and anywhere in the side, I'll just pop my way through to where those tails are coming from, and I'll wrap them around and pull them straight through. I've got one that didn't quite come through, but that's okay because I'm just going to poke it into the center of my pumpkin. And again, I'll just trim off this end. And there you have it. A cute little pumpkin. Now it looks like I might have done a couple more chains on this stem, but that's okay. If you want to customize it, you just add more chains to your stem at the beginning of the video. But there you go. So down below, I will link the patterns for the medium and the large size. I hope you enjoy this tutorial. And I have a very fun crochet hook holder that I am making right now. I will be sharing a new stitch with you. It's a braided puff stitch. So that will be my next video. Enjoy decorating for fall.